probably the biggest defense you hear about FP4's maps, that even though they're bad for gameplay, they're really good for world building and they really help the story out a lot. Now I can see why people say this because on one hand it's really cool getting to see these maps, these parts on the top of the map, in like the chapter 1, for example, and in chapter 2 you actually get to see them in the bottom of the map, and that kind of creates this cool sense of, oh shit, these houses are actually by each other, they're not just like two spaces. And you don't get that feeling from a lot of other games, which I think is really cool that A4 does that. However, I think it also, I'm not sure this is a really good case. I don't think this is, my opinion, this isn't good world building. I mean, I think it's a cool novelty, but I think it creates a lot of issues with just the world that I can't really consider it good gameplay, world building, at least in my opinion. So I think just looking at, say, chapter 2, for example, probably the biggest issue with this is just the sense of scale, because it's commonly agreed on, like, from people I've talked to and stuff like that, that these maps aren't actually to scale. And yeah, that's definitely the case. Because looking at, like, today's Strategy 776 takes place in, like, a single map in FE4. But yeah, it's obviously not to scale. Yeah, but I think with that aside, though, it doesn't really register as not being to scale because, like, say, or everything is around the same size as you expect it to be in a Fire Emblem game. Like, for example, you have one tree. It's on the size of one person, so it'll take up a single tile. But, so your brain kind of sees it as, okay, this is just normal size. But it's presented in such a way, but it's not supposed to be actual normal size, it's supposed to be, like, on a bigger scale than that. The way it's presented makes you think that. But I think, just putting that aside for a moment, the biggest issue is that this world is really, really, like, empty. Like, so in, like, a normal medieval European country or fantasy country or whatever, you would have most of the population be peasantry, and maybe a tiny subset be clergy or nobility. But looking at both the North chapter 3, which is Northern Austria, and Southern Austria, which is chapter 2, here we have a total of 17 towns and 7 castles. So that's the ratio of let's say one castle has like 100 people, which it's just a guess. That's probably whatever. And a town has 1,000 people. So with this in mind, we have around 700 nobility to 17,000 commoners, which is really high. But that aside, there's no farmland here. Like, you have towns in the middle of forests when it doesn't really work and it's not really economically viable because people have no farmlands, they can't eat anything, at least when we're shown. And okay, so in this chapter we have Chagall here. He like sends these bandits out to destroy these towns, but since we have 17 towns here, that's like half this country's population, give or take. So this guy's he's destroying half his population. That's kind of huge, yeah. So like from even the most like violent dictators, like say Pol Pot or people like that, even they don't kill like half their population. It's because you don't do that because your country just cannot work if you do that because obviously the ability to draw the resources from the peasantry. If you kill like half the peasant population, it's like you have like that's half your resources gone like that. So and like obviously it is a video game. This shit isn't gonna be like, oh, I'm not gonna be like old nitpicky here like I am, but I think it does kind of raise the question of, the fact that this world is like presented as it is, kind of makes the world feel fake in a way. Because even though it's interconnected, it doesn't feel like an actual world. It feels like a bunch of places with some castles and towns here, but not an actual like world. Yeah, it's my first video made like this. Sorry for being kind of bad, but yeah.